Sober friends, what a privilege to have your company once again. This is Getting Uncaged, the segment on the apex predator where we discuss numerous subjects that may come to mind and just sharing some tips, tricks, philosophies on helping to make you become a better leader to lead a better generation for tomorrow. Before we get stuck into today's subject, I'd also like to take this time to say that the Apex Predator is a proud supporter of and is supported by both Sober is the New Cool and Rockstar Testimony, spearheaded individually by Kim Ballas and Sandra Lee, doing phenomenal work in the field of recovery from addiction and plus also mental health stigma. And plus also I'd like to thank you if you've become a subscriber to either the YouTube channel or you're listening via the audio streams, be it Apple Podcasts, be it Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, wherever whatsoever. Please, thank you. Your support is tremendously appreciated, and if you know of someone who can make use of this program, share it around and help us make the circle bigger. Today's subject is contentious, I know, because it's something that you may have heard plenty of times before, but now we're going to get into a deep nuts and bolts about it, and if it sounds like I'm going to be preaching to you, I am, because I had to learn this the hard way. Sadly to say, there weren't many who took me by the hand, and so as a result I've had to do my own research, as it were, and that is how to overcome bad days. Lads, if there's something that I want you to get into your shiny cranium and savvy it until the day that you die, is that we as men, we don't get days off. Sorry to say. We're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months out of a year. 24/7, 365, to condense it even further. Taxing as it may seem, because I know that we have a lot on our plate, both professionally and personally, put a helmet on. Period. We carry major responsibility. I mean, after all, we have to pay the overheads, we have to make sure that the kids are schooled, we have to keep a roof over our head, and plus also put meat and potatoes on the table. But it's a taxing job, and as a result, we often have to do more than what is expected of us, especially since the coming and going of 2020. But thankfully, the one thing that counts in our favor is durability. So as a result, your responsibility is to ensure that you relay that durability 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Something I'd like to elaborate on, speaking on 2020 and extra responsibilities, a lot of businesses, what I see nowadays, have bemoaned the fact that there aren't qualified workers. Well, 50% I want to say I agree with, 50% I say I don't agree with. Here's the reason why I say I do agree with it. It's because, first of all, unfortunately, because of factors beyond our control, you'll see I've got a t-shirt on from Doing It Sober Live from my partner Daniela Park, which says we are powerless over people, places, and things. So as a result, external factors like the rise in inflation, the rise of housing costs, the cost of living as a whole, we can't control. So as a result, it has demotivated employees to do their best because they're not seeing that bump in their salary. Here's where I don't agree with. There are people who are working themselves to the hilt and their efforts are not being seen. That's also a danger that can happen in this life. So the quicker that you learn to not trust people, but to either trust in yourself or in a higher power, the better you can get on with life. But one thing I want to say to all employers out there, let this be a lesson to you if you are in a situation where your top employees are leaving your firm. You're not looking after them. You are not rewarding them for their efforts. You're not bumping up their salary. And come now, an extra $5,000 is not going to cause an extra dent in your budget. Your problem is you're overspending on crap instead of spending in your employees. Why not initiate performance programs, help them get better skilled in order to perform better? Why not review their work performance and upgrade them for a promotion? Simple stuff. So that's why I say in a 50-50 sense. But still, even if external factors are beyond our control, what we can control is how we react to certain situations. And I can sit here and I can extemporate on the bad things that have happened to me, but my story is similar to what your story has been. But I learned how to go with the flow and how to take charge of the situation, and I hope that you will too. Another lesson along with durability that I want you to take with you is that you as a man have one name. One name and one name alone, and you have to protect it because your name is your legacy. Let me use another premise for you to help make it more simplified. If you were a dentist and you were competing between as one of three names, your name is the one that's tried and trusted. Every day, for every week of the business calendar, you have people who are blessed to come knocking at your door. You give them the best service imaginable, and they refer clients to you. The second dentist is also tried and trusted, but you as a customer don't know them by chance at all, but they're supposedly good because you and the second dentist, work at the same firm. The third dentist is all the way out in the boonies somewhere, I suppose, if I could use that as an example, but you don't know them, you don't know if you can trust them, but they're also supposedly good. The question poses itself, which one do you go to? It's exactly the same with regards to your name. The proof of the pudding lay in the eating. Another thing I would like to address coinciding with this is I can understand as well that with regards to performing under high pressure, stress becomes involved, which also contributes to bad days. It was said to me years ago by someone who now sadly has passed on that there's good stress and bad stress. Good stress is healthy, bad stress is unhealthy. But how do you differentiate? So it's a false argument, a false positive, dare I say. The thing is stress is there to be a motivator to you to overcome your challenges. You're not going to move through this life unchallenged, lads. That's just a fact. Unfortunately, there are too many young bucks who, instead of running through a problem, they would rather sidestep a problem through means of instant gratification or through fornication or trying to avoid responsibility altogether. That's a weak and cowardly character trait. And if you are one of them, shame on you. You have to charge through the problem consistently in order to build your character, in order to build life experience, and learn how to read people better. So, having covered the premise of why it is important to overcome bad days, how do we overcome bad days? The tools that I'm going to give you is exasperatingly simple, but it's up to you to apply it and let it grow. There's no magic pill that will make the problem just simply disappear, poof, and life is going to go all rainbows and unicorns, and everyone's going to live happily ever after. Doesn't work like that. But like a seed, you need to plant it and water it daily until eventually a weed starts to sprout, and that weed grows ultimately into a tree. So without digressing any further, the first tip on how to overcome bad days is to not just work harder, but work smarter. Scale your responsibilities within the time frame that you're at the office, which extends itself from 6 to 8 hours. I'll say it again. Scale your responsibilities within the time frame of your office hours being 6 to 8 hours. Do your emails in the morning. Then if you've got meetings throughout the day, space them accordingly with a 2-hour pause in between so that you can recollect your thoughts, you can get all your bearings together so that you can handle each pitch that you have to attend or you have to take in a whole lot more efficiently. Or for that fact, if there are meetings with your staff, scale it to once a week. There's nothing that I hate more, and this coincides as well with the second responsibility, so I'm going to delay that for a second to get to the second point. Delegate responsibilities according to the skill set of your workforce. If you are privileged to have a workforce of 50 people, create departments. You have an HR department, you have a legal department, you've got, of course, your reception that forms part of the workforce. Did I say financial? If I hadn't, I'll say it. You've got your finances department where you have your chartered accountants who are working out all your business accounts, working out the company budget, but you've put those people in those places so that they can help make the task a lot more bearable for you. That's if you are an entrepreneur. Or for that fact, a small to large scale business owner, Jocko Willink, who's written extensive books on leadership, I've got all of them in my collection, spoke about this in Decentralized Command and Cover and Move. That's in the first book that he released with Leif Babin called Extreme Ownership. Delegating your responsibilities according to your vision as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, and they can help you make that vision come alive, but you need to put trust into them. Now, what I wanted to say originally before I delayed my response is there's nothing that I hate more than seeing people literally lurk over my shoulder, because that is the sign of a person who cannot relay trust. And that's also, in effect, a person who cannot lead. If you're consistently looking over the shoulder and trying to keep a finger on the pulse on whoever has to execute the most smallest menial task to the biggest task, then unfortunately you're not a leader. You're a pest. You're a Hitler in the making. That's why, for argument's sake, you've got something called performance meetings that occur either every week or half a month or half annually, depending on how big your organization is. You have to put trust in your workforce, because as a result, your stress gets decreased more and more every given time, and you can focus on making big choices. Where your firm is going to go. Do you want to extend the vision to other facets? Maybe you would like to incorporate a corporate social responsibility into your company's portfolio in order to widen the company's visibility by means of giving back to the community. So, just to recap, excuse me. First of all, work harder and work smarter by scaling your responsibilities as the top brass within a time frame of 6 to 8 hours. Second point, delegate responsibilities according to the skill set of the workforce that you have employed, decentralized command, and trust them that they will execute your vision, cover and move. Then the third point, prep your day through means of a diary, as if I need to say it again. This is also exasperatingly simple, to the point of you going, duh, I understand that, left and right, but why aren't you doing it? It's an oft overlooked tool that you need to put things down in bullet point, and often you need to plan out your day. But now comes the argument. All right, I prep my day, but what if an unexpected occurrence happens? That's exactly why you plan. You have a contingency. Because if you don't plan, and an unlikely situation will occur, like God forbid, touch wood, an employee gets involved in a car accident, or you get sick, or your family members are afflicted in some ungodly way or another, again, touch wood, at least you have a contingency in play that your staff can handle it for you, so the stress gets lesser and lesser. But now you might be thinking to yourself, fine, it's all well and dandy and all well and sundry to say that what do I need to do, but what about dealing with people either in my company or outside of my company who are being difficult? I'm going to make an unsavory comment, but it's unfortunately an unsavory comment which is the gospel truth, that unfortunately large groups of society today have low self-image. I've said this often before in private conversation, and I'm given the panda bear eyes because they can't believe I would make such a statement, but deep down they know it's true. People are too soft in today's society, period. That's why I don't believe in the comment that you need to be cruel to be kind. You can be kind, but you have to be unfortunately diplomatic as well as stiff and rigid when enforcing respect unto your employees. So, that being said, large groups of society have low self-image, so as a result there is always that plausibility that screaming, scolding, and condescension will become playbook tactics. I faced it myself, yes I have, and it's not nice, but you have to prove the polar opposite. You need to be the contrast in such a situation, because you cannot afford emotion clouding your judgment ever. Remember what I said, your name needs to be protected, and if you're going to be a player here competing with a B player who is screaming, scolding, and being condescending, and you stoop down to their level, there goes your name and up in the air or down the tubes, which is the more apropos expression. Always remain professional and sternly neutral in such a situation. God forbid, touch wood, like what happened to me the previous year, when defending yourself in an argument, you should always remain diplomatic. And should the other party continue with their faffing, you have the unconstitutional animal right to shut them off and then summarily walk away. Recently, I had a client who tried to stifle me out of money. My terms and conditions expressly stated at the time, which I've had changed, that once I finish a product for you and it's delivered to you, you have to give me the money, COD, cash on delivery. And the client tried to have it extended by the fact that they needed to get their monies together. Now, the consumer laws state that you as a proprietor can give them 7 to 30 days leeway at your own discretion. So I gave the person in question 7 days discretion, and when they still didn't cough up the money, I took them to the Consumers Bureau. That's just how you have to do things. Naturally, when this person in question acted like a child, I said, unfortunately, you knew full well what my terms and conditions stated, and acting the victim is not going to work on me. You've got one more day to deliver the money, or I'm taking the matter further. And that's ultimately how the situation transpired, that I got my money out of my client. You have to remain sternly neutral, and you're going to have to grow leather skin. Because here's the reason why it's now even more applicable at play. It's evident in the South African economy. I'm not so entirely sure about overseas first world countries, but the problem is everyone is trying to see how they can get the most for less. Now, sure, if you're working within the confines of economy of scale, the more you exceed the demand, so in other words, the supply exceeds the demand, the cheaper it will be for you as the proprietor to produce that product and service. But under no terms whatsoever can consumers bank on the fact that if they buy something for cheap, that it's going to be a long-lasting product with a lifetime warranty. Doesn't work like that. The reason why a product and service is so often pricey is the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into producing that product, into giving you customer satisfaction. And it's going to cost a gold coin, because not only are we talking about the labor, we're also talking about the markup. How is my price going to be beneficial to me in contrast to the competitor? Keep that in your mind the next time before you bitch and moan about why things are so expensive. Rather say to yourself, am I paying for value, or am I paying for dirt? That's the best way that I can express myself. So now we've covered on how to overcome bad days on a professional level. Well, what about on a personal level? Well, we as men, first of all, are going to have to listen to our spouses and to our children, because they need us. And often than not, and I'm experiencing this myself as a bachelor, you're going to have the hard conversations which you don't want to penetrate into. Again, being sternly neutral when going into that matter. Listen to the opposite party's premise in full. And if there's something that you don't understand, say, I don't understand, can you perhaps explain it to me another way? And understand, especially a woman's emotions. They're going all over the place. Either it's that time of the month, God forbid, or for that fact, they are so frustrated and thwarted that they cannot be in a conscious state of mind to express themselves clearly, and that's why they get so flustered and perhaps raise their voice. And the reason why they're coming to you is you have to help them come up by means of solving a problem. Not just listen as what you would hear someone say who is absolutely naught on the subject, because the reason being is women aren't always right, sorry to say. So often they want to say, we just need someone to hear. It's not the truth. They know that you're going to come up with an answer, and it's something that they don't want to hear, but they have to hear it. So even women can be corrected. I'm not being sexist nor bigoted, it's just the truth. But if you expected that this is going to be the magic pill to overcome a bad day, I gave it to you. I gave it to you in a professional and even in a personal setting, dare I say, which is have infrastructure in both your business and in your home. Secondly, proper planning prevents poor performance. And then refine and practice having a cool head in moments of discomfort with others. That is basically the tools on how to overcome bad days. You can't run away from the problem, but with these tools, you can run through a problem. That is quintessentially how you lead. That's how you lead. There's no comfortable way out of this situation. There's only proper structure. Proper planning prevents poor performance. It was a military slogan that a lot of the South African Army Rangers were taught when they were going through basic training, especially when they were training for areas of combat where they were going to be deployed. And more often than not, those military campaigns were hugely successful, even with all the drawbacks of, excuse me for being so extreme, that lives had been lost and a lot of troops came back maimed. But I can guarantee you, if you try this for 30 days, it comes with a lifetime warranty, and you're going to bump your head if you're going to be obstinate until you get it right. Nothing more I can say on the subject. But guys, I know that life is tough. It's harder now, especially for the Gen Xers, because everything is being supplied to them. Everything is basically laid out for them. But when it comes to the hard stuff, they are unprepared. And I know it because I've experienced it myself. When I came along in the 90s, just a little bit of history, a new South Africa was supposedly looming, and there was the first democratic election. Truth be told, there was always a democratic election. But since that time, South Africa has been overtaken by a socialist agenda, and I see a lot of men, minds and body alike, are turning into mud because they can't be self-reliant. And you need to be self-reliant in this life, because life is extremely unpredictable. If I could be transparent as well, I never expected whatsoever, to have my own business. But when I listened to my spirit, I went with it, and I'm continuously learning along the way. That's why I said originally it's imperative to read. Do you remember the first conversation that you and I had about what makes you qualified? I said, get self-help literature, get better at a trade, get better, because there's always room for improvement in order to make you not just a productive person, but in contrast to what business owners would like to think you are, so that you can become indispensable rather than replaceable and expendable. And let me place at your mind there. I was murmuring about this morning as I was preparing for this show. Companies now, even more so than ever, are trying to see how they can control their workforce by means of bully tactics. They only pay you just enough so that you can cover your overheads, but if you are not performing to their liking, they will say, if you don't sharp up, you can go look for another job. A company's bylaws, according to the labor law, says the following. If you as an employee have worked a term of 6 months for a company, you're entitled to give 2 weeks' notice of leave. If you've worked for a company longer than 6 months, extending beyond 12 months, you have to give them 2 to 3 months' notice of leave. In that time period, especially with the latter category, the onus is up to management to try and find a suitable replacement. And it takes a long time, because then the job placement needs to go up, they need to interview candidates, and they're wasting more money than whatsoever. So that bully tactic doesn't work. You need to start building resistance here, and that's how you start to overcome bad days. And on a personal level, guys, we are the leaders. Don't listen to any other outside factor other than this. You are the leader. You have to lead. And that's why we take a lot of punches. You cannot afford to let your emotions run wild, because then a chink in your armor is going to occur, and you're going to be in an emotionally compromised position which isn't going to go away as fast as a finger snap. Do this. Do this for 30 days. And if you want me to, I'll happily repeat for perpetuity. Have infrastructure in both your business and in your home. Make sure that that structure is in place, because that's going to save you a lot of time and energy. And especially in your home, make sure that both your spouse and your kids have a means of communicating with you, and that you are pulling your weight in order to communicate with them. And if you're a bachelor like me, have a structure in place of your fitness is top priority. Your body is durable so that you can endure and you can exert energy in everything what it is that you're doing. And even when it comes to relaxation and you feel like you're going into autopilot, dare I say, why not try a solo date? And here I have to give Erin Alejandrino so much of credit from the High Value Man conversation. I'm home alone at the moment, and last night I felt myself going into a little bit of a rut. And so I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to try going out on a solo date. Naturally, as one would go with such an instance, pulled out all the stops, powdered myself up all nicely with cologne and dressed to the hilt, and I went to a lovely little shopping mall just around the corner. Boy, oh boy, upmarket like you will not believe. And I went to my favorite hangout and I had a chocolate milkshake for an hour. Sat there with my book, drank my milkshake slowly, and just enjoyed the surroundings, the quiet and the serene. And as I was walking out, my favorite song played out on the PA system, Chad Kroeger and Josie Scott's Hero, the soundtrack to Spider-Man. And my mood was so lifted as a result of what the initiative I had undertaken. It showed that I had confidence. It showed that I can be independent. And thirdly, that I can have fun. And so when that time comes of when adversity shows or rears its ugly head, now I'm ready for action. Have this in place, and I promise you, you'll start becoming the very thing that you're meant to be. An unbreakable mind, an unstoppable force, an untamed spirit, an army of one, an apex predator. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. God bless.